Travis with UTV Window Tint. Today we're working on a Polaris Ranger 1500. So we're going to take out the back window. So the back window is held in by these cam ride or the lock and ride mechanisms. So those lock and ride mechanisms are the same that are used on the Ranger 1000, but the difference on this machine, this is a much bigger machine, this is a bigger back window. So let's go to the outside of the machine. They have an integrated third brake light / cargo light. This is actually over the top of the windshield. So we're gonna have to remove the bolts out of the top and get the back window out to do your window tint install. So I got a 13 millimeter. We're gonna go up on the roof and we'll show you how to remove those back screws. So now that we're up on the roof, there's just 4 bolts that hold this down. We're just gonna take these 2 bolts out and hopefully that will give us enough lift to get the back window out. We'll probably have to take out all 4 bolts. So like I said, this is just a 13 mil. We're just gonna unscrew these and that's gonna give us just enough to slip our back window out to do the install. They just look like this with a bolt that runs through them and they just sit inside these channels to hold the plastic roof down to the machine. So we'll get all 4 of these bolts out and then that will give us the clearance to lift this up. All right, so we got all 4 bolts out. It's just enough room to lift this up. So we're gonna lift up on each side. The glass is, both cams are in the open position, which is gonna cause the glass to just tilt out like that. And then you're simply just going to take the glass off. On these, they have the 3 brackets. On the Polaris Ranger 1000s, they only have 2. So these brackets just simply hug and squeeze. And then these cam locks operate at a 90 degrees to latch it into behind the headliner. So that's how you fish out the glass from behind the third brake light. So we're gonna take this piece of glass, we're actually just gonna set it over here, and then we're gonna get this ready for a window tint install. We'll show you that in a different video. Check out UTV Window Tint YouTube channel. All right, so the glass is out of the machine. We're gonna prep this back window to get the window tint install. So what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna use like the garage door to lean this piece of glass up. If you have like a sawhorse, I would suggest using that. But cleanliness is gonna be key. I just wanna show you, this is a lightly used machine, but look at all the dirt and debris that is built up in this gasket. So all this dirt would fight you on your install. So we wanna make sure we clean that. So with that being said, what you can do is if your machine's really dirty, you really rode it in the dirt and gravel, take a wash mitt and a wash bucket and actually physically wash this window inside and out. We're just gonna clean this the old-fashioned way, but if your machine's really dirty, I would highly suggest that. That's gonna enhance your tint job. So we'll go on to doing the outside of this machine. We'll take a rag and wipe down the outside glass with our slip solution. So I'm just gonna give this a thorough mist. I'm gonna come back with a microfiber. I'm just gonna wipe off the machine. We're gonna be using the outside of this machine glass as our peel board. So we'll explain all of that in a second, but we just wanna make sure that there's no dirt, debris on the outside glass of this machine. And then we're actually gonna set this up to be like this. And then we're gonna grab our film out of our box. But we're just gonna wet the outside window and we're gonna lay our film on here as if it was gonna be installed. So, these notches right here are for the cams of the machine for the lock and ride. So I wanna talk about the film a little bit. This is called the liner. The clear part is called the liner. Obviously the tint's in here. This is the sticky side of the tint. You wanna keep that as clean as possible. So you don't want dirt to get in there because that will end up in your job. So whenever you're working on something, you want liner side towards you. So if I had this backwards, it wouldn't be that easy for me to pull the liner. It'd be the film coming up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a method called reverse roll. So now that the film's on here, we're gonna mist this off and we're gonna take our install tool and we're just gonna kind of squeegee this, anchoring it to the glass. And that's just gonna ensure when we lift the liner that it doesn't lift the film up also. What we're gonna do is take our soapy water, we're gonna peel our liner up, and we're just gonna kind of peel it away, making sure it doesn't do this. And then we're just gonna wet all of our film area. You want just a good thin water layer between your film, and then we're just gonna rest the liner back on it. Now, for cleanliness, you don't want the liner to touch anything else. You just simply wanna lift, wet, and rest the liner back on. Another thing you don't wanna do is you don't wanna be like misting up here, then rinsing dirt into the film area. So when you watch when I do this side, I'm gonna lift my liner up. I'm simply gonna wet the film, but I'm not going past this top edge. And then I'm just gonna set the liner back down, making sure that it doesn't flop onto anything else. And I'm just gonna anchor this out. So now I got a thin layer of water in there. I'm gonna do what's called a reverse roll. I'm just gonna give this right here, the liner side, a mist. And then we're going to take and roll the film and the liner together. So we're just gonna work across the glass. We're gonna go slow, make sure that we're not gonna crease the film. So we're just gonna roll this up. And this is gonna dramatically help with our install. So once you get it most of the way rolled, you could just gently use your fingertips to roll this up. And once it's rolled, I'm just gonna bring it over here to the machine. I'm gonna set this down, and I'm gonna set this on a clean surface, and we're gonna leave it. Right now, the way it is the liner's right here. This is the sticky side with a little bit of soapy water. So now what will happen is when we go to install this on the machine, exactly what just happened right there. When I flop this, the liner will stick to the back side of the film, exposing the sticky side, and we're gonna roll it onto the glass once we're ready. So that's important to note. This is very easy if you follow the right process. So we're just going to set this back on here, stay, and then we're gonna flip this piece of glass over. You do not want the glass to be upright because all the dirt and debris that's falling onto your ceiling will land on the glass and it'll have nowhere to go. Whereas if you have it on this angle, it will cause the dirt to come down. It will create like a rinsing effect. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna give this a good old rinse. We're gonna get this glass kind of wet just based on how dirty it was. And then we're gonna take a blue scrubby pad that came in our install kit. And we're gonna scrubby every inch of this glass. You can see how soapy the water is. We just wanna scrubby everything, make sure any bit of dirt or debris is off there. Probably wanna do this twice. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna come back with a single edge razor blade from your install kit, and you're gonna razor blade the whole glass. I would even razor blade up in this black matrix area. So now we're gonna razor blade. You can see what I mean by the water is, gravity is pulling that water down, kind of creating a rinsing effect. You'll see when we go to squeegee off the glass how important that is. So I'm kind of listening as I razor blade this to see if I'm hearing any grit. You want to make sure your glass is perfectly clean. Tint is all in the prep. All right, so now this is all razor bladed and I'm comfortable with how clean the glass is. We're gonna use our pink install tool and a clean glass towel. So you will need a couple towels, part of the kit, or above and beyond the install kit. But I like these towels. They don't have a bunch of furry, hairy things. These are glass towels. So we're gonna mist the glass again. And I'm gonna even mist up in this black matrix area again. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna squeegee out all of this. And this is gonna hopefully get rid of all this dirt. And we want to squeegee around these guys and up in here. And then once I'm done with each squeegee, I'm gonna simply wipe off my blade. And now I'm gonna come across here and I'm gonna squeegee. And what I'm doing is I'm running black border to black border. So any dirt that's on the film or on the work area hopefully ends up in this side's border, and then we'll squeegee it down so it won't end up in your film area. So this glass is pretty easy because all you have to worry about doing is working around these notches. So I'm gonna squeegee out all this. This is where all the dirt that we showed you earlier was. And see, like this would be a problem. There's a hair right here. Customer must have a dog. We want to get that out. We don't want that in our film. So now I just squeegee that out. I would maybe do that again. Cleanliness is going to be key. I would also take your towel and wipe off these pucks for the lock and ride, just to make sure that there's no dirt on these guys. So now I'm going to go to a new section of my towel. And again, I'm just going to squeegee this off. And what you'll kind of notice, it's probably hard to see on film, but as I squeegee, it's kind of causing this to run down. So hopefully any pieces of dirt, hair, debris are now ending towards the bottom of the glass. And on this machine, that's very easy because there's a large matrix at the bottom, this part. So hopefully all the dirt ends up in there and it's not in our film area. And now that I've done this twice, I'm ready to do my install. I'm gonna squeegee off this side right here just to make sure that there's no dirt there. And I'm gonna squeegee off this side to make sure there's no dirt there. We're gonna do what's called a dry install. So we're gonna do our reverse roll. The liner now is towards the machine. So I know that this is the right side. I got this oriented the right way. So I'm gonna roll this back up. You're gonna want your garage doors closed, your fans off while you do the tint install. So now what's gonna happen is the liner is going to stick to that, and I'm going to expose my sticky side. It's still a little wet, so I'm going to simply lay that on the glass, and now my liner is right here. And I'm just going to work my way down the window. Okay? And again, the liner's on the back side towards me, whereas it was on the back side earlier. So now, again, I'm just going to work my way. You get to this last little bit, pull your liner out, set your film on the glass, throw this on the ground because you don't need it anymore. Now there should be enough soapy water you can see that I can position my film. So I just want to make sure that I have no light gaps. I want to check my edges. I want to make sure my cams work without irritating my film edge. These have to be cut out, so otherwise they would rip the film. I'm going to give that a mist. I'm going to take my pink install tool. Again, I want to make sure that I'm happy with the way it fits, because once you anchor this down, it's going to be set. You don't want a light gap because once you anchor it, it's not going to move again. So now I'm just going to squeegee this out. And I kind of just centered out. So now what I'm going to do is simply just squeegee all of this out. And you'll just want to wipe your blade once in a while. If you pick up a piece of debris, it will actually scratch the film. If it's sharp enough, you pick up a little piece of gravel or something, it will. So every couple passes, you'll just want to wipe your blade off. And then again, squeegee this all down. And then what we'll do is we'll just mist this again. And just same concept. Just squeegee all the film outwards. You kind of are doing overlapping passes to make sure that you're getting all the moisture trapped between the film and the glass out. And that's how you install your back window on your Polaris Ranger 1500. We're going to work on the side windows. This is a 20% ceramic film, so this film actually will block upwards of 70% of heat coming into the machine, which will make your AC more effective, and it will make it for a more comfortable ride. What I would suggest doing, I like to do this window of the first window of the machine. I'll take this, set it outside if it's a sunny day, flip it over on the sawhorse so all that water can drip off. And now you have a perfectly tinted Ranger 1500 window.